Alexi Lalas did it again, guys. Alexi Lalas, of course, the most famous redhead in U.S. men's national team history, a former defenseman for the U.S. men's national team. Alexi Lalas came out, and he does this from time to time, right? He has these little tirades, these little couple minutes of just pure bravado, pure aggressive, pure in-your-face. He speaks for the nation, at least in his mind. And a lot of the times, they can be a little too Alexi Lalas, if you know what I mean. But we're going to show it right here. So this is aimed at the entire U.S. men's national team.
It's dark days indeed, but this is a time for leaders to step up. And so to the supposed leaders, I will say this. All right, Tim Howard. Tim, the Belgium game ended 3 years ago. We need you to save the ball now. Jeff Cameron, clean it up or let's get someone who will. Clint Dempsey, yeah, you're a national team legend. Now we need you to be a national team leader. Michael Bradley, the U.S. does not need you to be zen. The U.S. needs you to play better. Josie Altidore, is this really as good as it gets? Because it's still not good enough. Bruce Arena. Bruce, Jurgen Klinsmann lost at home to Mexico. You lost at home to Costa Rica. This is now all on you, not Jurgen. Oh, and by the way, to all the guys that I didn't mention it because you don't even warrant a mention. That includes you too, Wonder Boy. So, what are you guys going to do? Are you going to continue to be a bunch of soft, underperforming, tattooed millionaires? You are a soccer generation that has been given everything. You are a soccer generation who is on the verge of squandering everything. So, now it's time to pay it back. Make us believe again. You don't owe it to yourselves. You owe it to us. And get off my lawn.
So this came after losing to Costa Rica and drawing to Honduras in their quest to qualify for the World Cup next year. And Lalas had enough. And Lalas said a lot of hard things. And I think you got to kind of separate this into two separate things. So, one, the presentation, the way he said it, the kind of how he did it, was a little heavy, okay? It was German chocolate cake with just too much damn icing on it. No one can eat that much icing, Alexi. No one. There's not a man on earth that can ingest that much damn icing. So just take a little bit of it off. So the presentation was a little bit maybe much, I suppose. The actual message, though, for once, I 100% agree with Alexi Lalas. 100% agree, 100%. He called out individual players who are at this point pretty much are bulletproof. They haven't been shredded in the media. They haven't been affected by these recent struggles, and not just these recent struggles, but some of these guys are people who have been part of just the whole American soccer struggle as it is, the inability to get to that next step. So the Michael Bradleys, the Josie Altidores, those are guys who they've been kind of in that team and they've never been in danger of losing their spot, never been in danger of being criticized. And that is an American issue as a whole when it comes to soccer and just sports in general, right? So let's start with the American idea of soccer, the American idea of the world qualifying. Losing to Costa Rica and drawing to Honduras is an enormous deal. It puts us in a very precarious situation to maybe potentially miss the World Cup. If we were to miss the World Cup 2018, we might as well just defund the entire soccer program, quit it, just forget about it, because it will set us back and set the MLS back. And by the way, this has absolutely nothing to do with the MLS. As far as the quality of the U.S. men's national team, the MLS is fine. So before we get any further, know that I'm not talking negatively about the MLS at all. If anything, the MLS is way beyond where the U.S. men's national team is. The U.S. men's national team needs to catch up to the MLS. But back to the American idea, right? So Americans believe we're going to qualify for the World Cup. We're not worried about Honduras. We're not worried about Costa Rica. Even if we lose, we'll find a way in because we're the United States of America. We win. We win all this stuff. The Olympics. We win the most medals. We have the best whatever. So that's why it's not more of a media, not more of a pundit situation. If this was England, buildings would be being burned down. If this was Spain, people would be fired, would be cut. I mean, this would be a disaster. Germany, same thing. Because this is their thing. This is what they would actually be worried about missing out on the World Cup. I do think less than about 90, somewhere around 90%. Somewhere around 90% of people probably, if you ask them, are we going to make the World Cup? They would say, 100%, no doubt about it. They would have no clue how close we actually are to not making the World Cup after losing to Costa Rica and drawing to Honduras. So this was in part Alexi Lalas reaching out to the media, reaching out to the public and saying, guys, we need to hold these players accountable. We can't hold Jurgen Klinsmann accountable. We can't hold the fact that Red Bull Arena isn't exactly a home game against Costa Rica. Stuff like that. We can't blame our losses and struggles on that. We have to blame these players. And that's, I think, was part of Alexi's message was, guys, this ain't good enough. All right? Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Tim Howard, this is not good enough. If no one else will hold your feet to the fire, I will. And that part of it I really do respect. That part of it, I think Alexi nailed it. Because they aren't getting any heat from the media. They aren't getting any heat from ESPN or anyone else, because I think in the back of everyone's mind, it's like, this is just a process. We will be in the World Cup. Y'all just do y'all's thing. We'll worry about it in 2018. Alexi wants to worry about it now because he sees this team is worse than it was 3 years ago, worse than it was in the last World Cup. And these players who are supposed to be the best players on the team, supposed to be totally bulletproof, are the worst parts of the team. The Michael Bradleys, the Josie Altidores, the Tim Howards, they've been terrible. They've been absolutely terrible. And we hear every year about how this team is going to be better, how we're going to take the next step. And the media seems to be really behind the team. Understandably, because they want to sell American soccer. They want to sell the idea of this team can win it. This team can compete. Well, when we're tying with Honduras and losing to Costa Rica, and Costa Rica is a good team, but when we're losing to Honduras and tying with Costa Rica and barely even qualifying, all of a sudden, and struggling to get out of a group with teams that are ranked in the 100 area of the national football, or world football, global football, that's when it is a big deal. And the team isn't that good. And we should be worried. And there is a real danger here. So what Alexi Lalas said, although incredibly buttered up, incredibly icinged, if you will, it was right. It did need to be said. These players should be better. This team should be better. And at some point, what's going to happen is either America is going to invest fully in soccer and they're going to want this team to do better, or they're going to give up because the team never does better, right? So if the team never does better and the team always just kind of is a middle of the road, if we don't qualify, for example, if we don't qualify for the World Cup, America and Americans will pull out totally their interest of soccer and their interest of domestic soccer especially. And really only because they'll still care about the BPL and La Liga and stuff like that. But the MLS growth, the U.S. men's national team growth, college soccer growth, any of that stuff, the bluegrass, the young schools and clubs and camps that kids can go to before they get to the MLS, before they start their college careers, that will all be destroyed because the American persona is, if we're not good at it, screw it, right? We're not worried about the U.S. hockey team until it's the finals. If we don't make some international hockey tournament, who cares? It's hockey, baby. We're not a hockey country. But if we're there, if we're in the finals, the whole nation's watching. That's how America is. So if the U.S. men's national team makes it to the semifinals of the World Cup, 60 million people will be watching the game. If they don't make it to the World Cup, no one cares. That's the danger we're in right now. That's the danger. That's what Alexi Lalas is trying to say. And I'm with him. I'm with you, Alexi. He's trying to say, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than Michael Bradley. This is bigger than Josie Altidore. This is bigger than Clint Dempsey. This is American soccer. Everything that we've worked for, everything that everyone's worked for, all those teams. The team 3 years ago against Belgium, the team in the World Cup, Tim Howard saving 16 shots. Those players, those teams, what they worked for is a moment like this to get into the 2018 World Cup, to have a good showing in the World Cup, because we're in kind of a transitional time right now. We're in a transitional moment where American soccer, the old guard of Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, Tim Howard, they're all moving on. This is probably their last World Cup. So then we have the Jordan Morrises, the Christian Pulisic, the Kellen Acosta, the Andre Blake, players like that coming in. Those players are the players who are going to move us forward. Those are the players of the future. But they're a little young now to carry the banner in a World Cup. So we need this kind of beautiful marriage of the old guards and the new guards meeting in the middle to have a good team that can get us, basically all we want is out of the group stage into the World Cup knockouts. And right now the old guard is resting on their laurels and looking terrible while doing it. Frankly, it's been an embarrassment. disqualification process. Someone had to say something, and if no one else will, I guess Alexi Lalas had to stand up and say it. So I am in full agreement with every single thing Alexi Lalas said. It is time, America, one, for us to care about soccer and hold these people accountable. Hold these players to the same standards you would hold your quarterback for your college, your quarterback for your favorite NFL team, or your starting pitcher for your favorite MLB team. It's time for us to put soccer in the forefront and to hold these guys to the same standards that we hold the rest of American athletes.